welcome everyone formally to today's webinar, 10 Ways to Improve Employee Engagement. I'm Rachel and I'm going to be your webinar chairperson today. Delighted to welcome our brilliant panel of experts. All of them have been on webinars before, but I'm going to do an introduction to all of them. Welcome back to Miranda Kane from Elevate Performance. Hi, Miranda.
Hi, Rachel. Good to be back.
Brilliant. And would you like to share a bit about who Elevate Performance are?
Absolutely. So Elevate Performance is a performance-based business that focuses largely on maximising performance in organisations through people. And our focus typically is more around sort of mindsets and behaviours than sort of systems and processes, so to speak.
Brilliant. Well, we look forward to hearing your presentation. And also delighted to welcome back to, I'm sure it's 4 or 5 webinars we've run together, Kim. Welcome back, Kim Ellis. We've called you a training consultant, so would you like to share a bit more?
Yeah, thank you for having me again. Delighted to be here. I run a company called Go Ginger Learning Solutions, and we specialise in contact centre training, specifically the customer service side of things and systems training as well.
Brilliant. Well, welcome back. And also delighted to welcome back Paul Tenner from Genesys to your second webinar with us. We didn't scare you too much the first time.
No, well, I've obviously come back, so I must have enjoyed it. So great to be here, Rachel, and great to be with Kim and Miranda on this one.
Brilliant. And would you like to share a bit about who you are in Genesys?
Yeah, so I'm an innovation lead for workforce engagement. So I talk to customers every day around the tools and applications that can help organizations with this type of issue. So good to be here.
Brilliant. Well, delighted to have everyone here today. Just a reminder, we are taking a recording of today's webinar, and that will be available later on this afternoon on callcenterhelper.com/recorded-webinars. A reminder also, we are running our discussion today in our chat room. That's available on callcenterhelper.com/chat. You just need to put your first name and email address in and it will take you through. It is in a separate window, but hopefully if you've got a big enough screen, you can put them side by side, or I know a lot of people like to run them on their mobile phone to carry on. Lots of people already in there. I can see it buzzing away by the side. I've got mine on my laptop screen actually. A few added advantages of being in the chat room is that you can download a copy of all our webinar speakers' slides. That's available just up here. And we also have our quiz buttons. We're coming to our trusty faithful quiz later on, and you do need to be in the chat room to take part. Another reason to be in the chat room is that you can share your questions or share your top tips for employee engagement using #question to ask the panel a question, or #tip to share your top tips. And we have a bottle of champagne, box of chocolates, or an Amazon gift card for the best tip. So definitely worth taking part. So before we get into today's webinar, I'm going to share a quick poll and put that, I'm going to quickly launch it. So we're asking, on a scale of 1 to 5, how engaged are your employees? Are they 5, highly engaged, 4, somewhat engaged, 3, varies from team to team, 2, demotivated, or 1, very demotivated? Miranda, what do you think is going to come out if you were betting? Oh, you're on mute at the moment.
Apologies. If I was to guess, I'd say I think the answer is likely to be varies from team to team. So certainly my experience is in most organisations, there are some highly engaged and highly effective teams and some perhaps not so much. So I think it will be a mixed bag.
Okay, I think it's almost, I'm going to share the results now, almost as if you can see my screen. Yeah, 56% of people saying it varies from team to team. 33% saying somewhat engaged, 7% saying demotivated, and then 5% highly engaged. Do you think that sort of mixed bag is what you're expecting to see, Miranda?
Absolutely. No, could have been awkward if the poll had come out very differently. But no, I think that's largely typical of most organisations. And, you know, what sits is the majority sits in the varies from team to team. So that could be, you know, more motivated teams or less motivated teams within that. So it's interesting, but not surprising, unfortunately.
Well, fab. I think a perfect opportunity for you to share your presentation.
Fabulous. So, and it's almost as if I've set it up. Let me just hit that. And just let me know if that's
Perfect.
showing okay. So thank you again, Rachel, for having me as part of today. And on the front slide, I've kind of covered the key topics that I wanted to talk about, and it's almost as if the conversations that have been had prior and the questions asked in chat have been positioned to set me up perfectly in terms of it is the perfect segue. So one of the things I wanted to look at is just an overarching kind of big question: why does employee engagement matter? That might seem really obvious. Then I want to talk about the difference between company culture and team climate. And again, a very clear nod to some of the conversation we've had already. The overarching why, and then kind of what's the answer. So I wanted to make sure that people have got a few sort of thoughts and ideas to go away with off the back. So if they kind of like the angle, things they can go and do to hopefully sort of leverage some of those opportunities to really engage their people. So if I look at the first one, when we talk about why employee engagement matters, I think it directly impacts business performance. And we know that in many respects. So highly engaged employees turn up and do great work, right? So they deliver discretionary effort, they're less concerned about watching the time and more likely to go above and beyond. A really happy employee will engage with our customers in a way that's much more upbeat and enjoyable for the customer. So there are all these sort of obvious things that come from people that are happy to be in their workplace. I think what also, as part of that engagement, is really being clear about what it is that employees look for in terms of a great place to work. And there's some Ipsos data. So a couple of the stats on this screen are in bold because it really speaks to people look for more than just turning up and getting paid. Now, for everybody, we've got bills to pay, and so that's an important factor. But actually, people are looking to do work that they enjoy, that challenges, and it came up in the chat, people are looking for personal development. So there's things that go way beyond simply doing a set of tasks in exchange for payment at the end of each month. So we'll look a bit more into that as we go through. So to maximize that output, as a business, we focus on what we call team climate. And again, so much of what came up in the chat almost spoke to that. So it talked about the relationship with your colleagues, your team members, the atmosphere. And if you think about that, all of that's on a fairly local level. So that isn't really about the organizational culture per se, what the organization says it stands for. Most people are much more affected by the relationships they have with particularly people that they work in close proximity to, and even in this virtual world, the people that you're interacting with most. So again, we touched on in the conversation before we started, if you've got great colleagues, then that sort of team banter and fun that you have can be a perfect start to the day. But at the same time, if you're having not such a good day, having people that you can go to, and all of these things are much more within the control of your local team climate. And if the culture of the organisation isn't great, as an individual sat at my desk, it can be almost impossible for me to think how I can affect that. But what I can do is make sure that I enhance the day of everybody that I come into contact with. So again, much more on local level. So we know that leaders who facilitate employee engagement through that sort of creation of that team climate, that very much sits with the team leader and can really make a difference to how people feel about coming to work. So our strapline is that team climate eats company culture for breakfast. In terms of the stats that support that, is the bottom left one for me is it's one I've tracked for a number of years. So the survey gets done every few years, and the power in that stat is that it's over 1 million people surveyed. And what it said was that 75% of people cited a bad boss or not having a great relationship with their team leader or manager as the primary reason for leaving their job. So what that says, so that's not about the organisation, its values, its terms and conditions. Actually, 3/4 of people who left their job left directly as a result of the relationship with their leader. So we labour on that because that says that's the level of responsibility that somebody has for anyone that's a member of their team, and certainly not to underestimate that. And actually at organisational level, there is also an acknowledgement that the sort of power and the connectedness of those teams, 91% agreed that it's absolutely central to organisational success. So if you think about the role or the impact of reduced engagement, I mean, it's in dollars, but right now I don't think there's a huge amount between dollars and pounds anyway. So it's still a boatload of money, billions of pounds every year that come through attrition. So obviously when people leave, there is a drop in productivity, cost of replacement. But on top of that, disengaged employees aren't as productive in their day-to-day. So there's lots of these things that are unseen. Absenteeism skyrockets when teams are and individuals are disengaged, and lots of these things aren't monetized. So they're kind of those sort of invisible, unfortunate byproducts of disengagement. So I'd hope that there's everyone's kind of convinced of the reason why having a fabulously engaged population of employees is really important. So what I'd want to do is kind of share what we see as the answer, or a big part of the answer from a leader's perspective in terms of the role that you play in the employee experience. And we've distilled that down into 10 things. What I'm going to do, and I know that Kim's session will be covering some of these elements, so I'm going to focus on 3 key elements that also happen to have come up in the chat. So again, perfect. So we're definitely all on the same page. Trust sits at the center. So if you think from, to use call center parlance, if you think about next issue avoidance, trust means that if I have people in my team that don't feel great or are having challenges or have concerns, if I build trust, they will let me know before it becomes a big issue. So that allows me to support them in whatever the context of that challenge. But without trust, they won't. If they fear by telling me that they're concerned or they don't understand something or they're struggling with an aspect of their role, if they fear that they may be judged or their job could be at risk, then they're not likely to come and share that. So to be effective as a leader, I need to build a situation where my team feel able to be open and honest and vulnerable so that I can do what's required to support them in getting the right outcome. It's inextricably linked to psychological safety and linked to really good dialogue. So, to have good dialogue, there has to be honesty. To be truly honest, you've got to feel safe to do that. And somebody also mentioned in the chat around it was almost a nod to sort of empowerment. And again, that comes with, creating that environment where people can show up, do their best work, feel safe if they make a mistake, that you will act in support and look to help them resolve it, rather than living with a constant fear of getting fired for not doing the right thing. So I would say that those are the 3 key things, and they form the foundation for the other elements within the 10 things that great leaders do. So I know that everyone will have access to the slides, and there is a descriptor, and obviously you can get in touch if you want to understand more in more detail around any of the other 10 things. So psychological safety and engaging in great dialogue, which is absolutely underpinned by building trust within your team. And so they would be my key tips in terms of first areas of focus to create a truly engaged workforce. So thank you for listening.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Miranda. Yeah, if you wanted to get in touch, there is an option in the chat room under download webinar slides where you can connect with Miranda on LinkedIn. Maybe while you're in the chat room, you can share in 1 or 2 words, what did you like best about Miranda's presentation? Some great key takeaways I took, team climate rather than company culture, what underpins experience, build trust, have those conversations so that, everyone's feeling, well, the psychological safety behind it, that it's your team that you need to be working with every day, not the kind of company overall. 75% of people leave a job because of a bad boss. Employee engagement, a lot of people are thinking is beer Fridays and things like that, but actually, it is important to think these things are what actually people leave companies. Yeah, so thank you very much for that. So I can see that the chat room has been flying away while you've been chatting. So I'm going to share some top tips and questions from our audience. So we've had a tip in from Jamie. I'm just going to move my slides around. Saying, I allow my team to use their hour break however they like. Provided we have phone cover in the office, they can take their break whenever they like. We're outbound and not on a dialer. I'm considering a duvet day option too. I think when these guys are so used to being minute managed, they really appreciate it. Kim, what are your thoughts on, duvet day options and things?
I think duvet days can work really, really well. One of the call centres that I worked in, we had a onesie day, which is a little bit like a duvet day where everybody wore onesies in the office. You've just got to make sure that it's not putting additional stress on any of the other call handlers. So if half the team are having a duvet day, they may not be working or they may not be as productive. So have it with a little slice of caution, but it can be a great fun, can be a great day.
Brilliant. So Andrew said, being a visible leader and taking time to speak to people. Miranda, coughing. We'll go to Paul. Sorry.
Well, I was just about to say this links really nicely with those authentic conversations. Having the ability to sometimes have those skip type meetings as well, where you're skipping layers of the management team. We can talk to those senior managers about everyday things that are happening in the centre. And it's really nice if they stop and listen rather than talk. They really need to sit and listen and understand. So I agree. And I kind of instantly just linked it through to that authentic piece. Sorry, Maria.
That's all right. Sorry, I was just having a small coughing fit.
I agree at the wrong time.
Visibility is key. So the reality is proximity, which is similar, means that it's easier for people to approach you. If people feel like they have to come and find you and the perception is interrupt you to get your time, they're less likely to do it. So that just being around makes it reduces that sort of sense of I need to go and speak to my manager. So you just lighten things and things become just part of, as you're doing the rounds, those conversations had. Now, obviously you have to do things slightly differently virtually, but again, if things are formal, it kind of raises the stakes and therefore raises the anxiety.
Yeah, thank you. So Gio said, have a daily meetings with targets and results. Kevin said, we developed an employee engagement committee made up of members of our staff. They work to provide activities or ideas to keep our team engaged while being fully virtual. Kim, what are your thoughts on this one?
Love that idea. It's not just engaging all of the staff, it's getting them to engage each other. So it's not just coming from top down, it's getting them involved. So love that idea.
Brilliant. Last one, we'll come back to some more in a bit. Engagement and social committees. So I think this one's quite similar, looking to celebrate, organise events and activities throughout the year, i.e. Christmas. We've recently celebrated a week of National Customer Service Week, engaging our colleagues as well as our customers. You know, Miranda, I know we talked about on our practice session, happy employees equals happy customers. And I think this one's very important.
Absolutely. And what I really like is when sort of responsibilities are dispersed. So the organisation or the setting up of what we will do and how we will do it doesn't have to be all in the domain of the manager or leader. And actually, you're more likely to engage a workforce if said workforce is contributing to the way things are around here. And, you know, I think that when people talk about whose responsibility is, leadership is not about hierarchy per se. It may be from a title perspective, but I've spent time in lots of organisations and indeed contact centres, call centres, where you can see people that have influence irrespective of the role that they play. So those people that have a voice, are vocal, are passionate, can absolutely lead change and lead to things being a certain way in their teams, irrespective of their position, if that makes sense. And I love things like this that encourage that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Well, as we can see, lots coming through. I can see it on my screen. But I'm going to hand over the baton to Kim Ellis to take us through her presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, I think you're on mute, Kim.
Yep, sorry about that. Sorry, everybody. All right, so this is my side of the presentation, and we're just going to get straight into a poll all about what causes employee burnout. So I want you to really think about what are the main causes of employee burnout. And we've got different things on here like lack of coaching, work-life balance, stress, difficult contacts. Just pick one or two and we'll see what results we get. Any others that you want to put into the chat, go ahead.
I'll give it a few more moments. What do you think Kim is going to come out? I'm going to make you place your bets.
I think burnout is a very personal thing. So what might cause one person to burn out, somebody else may thrive on. So handling difficult contacts. Some people I've worked with absolutely love them enough that they've gone from the call center into the complaints department. So I think it is a very, very personal thing. So let's see what answers we've got.
Yep, so
top of it is stress, work-life balance, managing a high volume of contacts. I mean, that third one for me, definitely, when I was an agent, when we had, 50, 100 calls in the queue, your stress levels are just going up and up and up because you're going to get your managers running around being like, get your average handling time down. The main point that I wanted to just show with this was that there's no right or wrong answer. Burnout can happen to anybody, and it's not a bad thing. It's your body's way of telling you that there's something not right. So there is a call center helper blog which defined employee burnout as a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. Now I'm just going to share that in the chat panel. And the main point that I wanted to make was really anybody can suffer from burnout. If you don't address it, it could lead to poor customer service, sickness, it could lead to people leaving the job. So that's really what I wanted to start off my presentation about, just to set the scene and look at what we can do to combat it. So the first one was dealing with stress. There's many different stress triggers out there. I've picked 4 that I think that we can quickly talk about in this session, because you could literally have a 6-hour session just talking about workplace stress. So the first one was high contact volumes. Dependent on what type of sector you're in, you're going to have your peaks and troughs with phone calls. I worked in the road rescue industry, so rush hour, we'd always be getting hammered with contacts. Have a look at how are people coping? Do they need a break? Can they switch to another channel? So if you're a multi-channel center, so if you're doing phone, chat, email, can you switch them over to chat? Can you switch them over to email just to give them a little bit of respite? Difficult customers, like I said, some people thrive on handling these difficult conversations. I enjoyed them. I didn't look forward to them, but it was never one of my trigger points, was difficult customers. For some people though, they may need that additional coaching. They may start to feel their stress levels rising as soon as the customer is getting angry at them, or as soon as they're getting that objection from the customer. So do they need additional coaching? Do they need additional training? Also, what resources do you have available for them? Are there any offline resources that they can just access, quick help guides, cheat sheets, that kind of thing? Those can be really helpful, no matter whether somebody's in the office or whether they're working from home. Which leads us up to our next one. Working from home can be a stress trigger. Some people love it, other people hate it. I think, as with some of the others, it's a very personal thing that for me, I love working from home doing what I'm doing now. If I was an agent, I would hate it. I would absolutely hate it because I thrived in that call center busy environment. So a couple of different things that we can look at. First off, do they have the proper equipment? I've spoken to some of my old contact center colleagues from many moons ago, and they've gone from having 2 screens and a proper chair to working from their dining room table on a laptop. And they're having to work 4 or 5 different systems and keep on top of everything. So just ask yourself, have you completed a DSE assessment with any of your employees while they've been working at home? So that can be something just to take away and think about. Another one, would it help to switch them to a different channel at certain times of day? So if they're on a shift at 7 till 3, if they're getting the kids ready for a school run between 7 and 8, would it help if they did emails for that hour? So they can just break off very quickly. And the last stress trigger is the work-life balance. Speak to your employees, speak to your agents, ask them what you can do to make it easier for them, to make the balance better. Can you help them set a routine? Do you need to do a bit of channel switching or give them some offline work? Is there something that you can do to help them relieve that stress? So those are just 4 areas that I wanted to look at. But the main thing with these is, no matter what the situation, it's absolutely key that you engage with your agents. You need to talk to them and build that trust, as Miranda was talking about, build that trust so they feel confident that they can come to you with any issue that they've got. One of the issues that they could have is isolation. Now, this isn't just for home workers. I've worked with people who literally, they come in, hardly speak to anybody, do the job, go home. Never got involved in the nights out, never really got involved in any activities that we did. And they were very isolated. Some people just preferred it that way, and some people didn't feel that they could open up. So first, again, talk to your employees, talk to your agents, make sure that you're having those conversations. Have team or shift huddles. I saw this in the chat with one of the tips that somebody shared. I've worked places where we've done a daily 5-minute huddle. What's expected, what's the weather doing, what are any peaks and troughs expected to come in. It might not work with different shift patterns. You might have part-timers, you might have different people coming in throughout the day. Just find something that works for your environment, works for your agents. It might be that you have a quick, quarter of the team have a quick 5 minutes, and then an hour later, another quarter of the team have a quick 5 minutes, and just talk about how the day's going and what support that they need. Encourage people to participate with each other. So just going back to the huddles, if you've got people who are sharing funny calls they've had or challenging calls they've had, you might find that you've got a couple of your advisors that aren't talking. They're not engaging in those conversations. So ask them, just say, right, tomorrow on the huddle, I'd like you to bring something to it. Have that conversation with them. give them a chat buddy, especially if they're working from home. Miranda was talking earlier about, you got your office best friends, and we've all got those that we prefer to sit next to them, we chatter away in between contacts. But what if you're working from home? What if you started your call center journey at home? There's many people, lots of people who have, they've joined a company, they've got the laptop delivered, they're working at home, but they're not actually really becoming friends with people because they haven't met anybody. So get that going, give them a chat buddy. Just make sure that you give them guidelines for what they should and shouldn't be talking about, just in case. And lastly, for isolation, ask them, would you like to come into the office a day a week? If your office is open and they're working at home, do they want to work in the office for a day a week? Get some of that interaction. On the NHS website, there is a post on there for dealing with isolation. I'm just going to share that in the chat bar as well, but it is noted in my slide notes as well, just in case. I'm going to move on to coaching. Now, coaching is quite different when you're in the office versus when you're working remotely. I've done side-by-side coaching where I've literally been sat behind the agent while I've been coaching them. And I've had that done to me as well. It instantly puts me on edge. Can I feel my customer service dropping? Probably. I don't know. That might just be a mental thing that somebody's watching you so you can't type suddenly. We've all had that experience. But some agents love it, some hate it, some couldn't care less. The main point with this is, does your approach work for all of your agents? So if there's some people you find that their customer service levels are dipping when you're doing side-by-side or real-time live coaching, it might help to do more remote coaching so they don't know when they're being listened into. It might help to maybe give them some confidence so that they feel able to have you sat side by side, but just have a think, what approach is going to work for that particular agent? Because coaching should be about them, about improving their abilities and about improving the customer experience as well. It's not just a tick box exercise. I know a lot of call centers have, you've got to have 2 of this call, you've got to have 2 of that call. And when I was an agent, we had, a set number of calls each month that we had to get audited. And we only really got feedback when something didn't go well. You'd just get told, oh yeah, you've passed your call audits this month. It's like, yeah, great. But what else could I improve on? It was only if somebody had complained that we'd really, get an element of coaching. And this is going back many years. So things have changed now, but just think, does your approach work for everybody? Do you need to change your approach? Have that conversation, ask them, what would work for you? What do you prefer when I do this? Do you like it? When I do this, do you prefer it? Have a think about your feedback. I myself prefer nutshell feedback. Just give me the bullets. I can work the rest out by myself. Some people that I've coached prefer me to actually give them full explanations about what they can improve on, what they need to tone down a little bit. So just ask your agent, what's effective? Do I need to change the way that I'm writing my feedback? Another one is, are you doing a little bit too much coaching, or are you doing not enough? Some agents who are really, really experienced may not need a lot of coaching. They may be absolutely fabulous at their job and just need a little bit of coaching every month or every week or however often you do it. Some people may think, well, actually, I want to progress into a team leader role, or I want to progress into this type of role. Do they need additional coaching to help them get to their endpoint? Do they need additional coaching to help them with their customer service skills? Sorry, went forward a little bit too quick. So just really think, what is working for them? Because it is about them. It's not about a checkbox activity, it's about your agents. And then lastly, we've got incentives. Now, we touched upon this earlier with the duvet day and a couple of other incentives. One thing that I've learned is you don't have to spend a lot of money to make your people happy. You just have to engage them in the right way. One of the ways that I've used before is the call center bingo. Now, this is taken from one of the call center helper blogs, and I've got a couple of links to those blogs that we're going to share in chat. And these are great. You know, I once on my buzzword bingo, we used to call them, and I got the word fandabby-dozy into one of my calls. And it was actually warranted because it was a good call. It wasn't like a complaint where I just randomly put that word in there just to get, you know, my checkbox. And it's great. We ran it throughout the day, and you got a prize if you got a line. We used to have a prize cupboard that people would go up to. But then on the flip side, if I was a part-timer, I wouldn't have the call volume to fill in my card sheet. So these types of things, they can demoralize people. If they're performance-based incentives, what about your low performers who you need to do some additional coaching for? How are they going to feel if it's always the same people that are getting the prizes, always the same people winning? You could have an incentive for most improved CSAT score. And that would encourage your low performers to improve the CSATs. So there's a lot of useful tips on the blog post that we're going to be sharing. So just in summary, talk to your employees. Open questions are absolute key for talking to your employees. Don't just say, you all right? It's like, you're going to get a yes or no. That doesn't help you at all, because people could say, yeah, I'm fine, but they're not really. Get them talking to each other, you know, give them a chat buddy, give them, you know, a 15-minute call window and they can talk to another advisor for 15 minutes. This is really good to celebrate the success with each other, but also if they've had a difficult call, that they've got somebody who knows the job that they can just rant to, that they can just talk to. Give them resources. Let them access things when they need it, The right amount of coaching is absolutely key. Cannot stress that enough. You need to get the balance right with your employees and boost morale with incentives. It's great. The person who mentioned earlier about having a group of people who are in charge of the incentives and the engagement, it's a great idea. Just make sure it doesn't hit your call targets and put the stress on the other people. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Kim. I'm going to share my screen. Ooh, there we go. Thank you very much for that. We're going to come to our quiz in a minute. So you'll need to be in our chat room. So callcenterhelper.com/chat. You just need to type it in your browser, first name and email address, and maybe once you've logged in, you can share in 1 or 2 words, what did you like best about Kim's presentation? Kim, brilliant as always. I really enjoyed, the work-life balance, the impact that it can have, burnout, stress, isolation. We've talked a lot about the importance of huddles and getting those quieter team members involved. It's not just about who can shout the loudest. I know a lot of people had it where when they were in the call center environment that only the person holding a ball could actually talk, and they passed it around the huddle so that, it was kind of, right, it's this person's time to talk.
Oh God, that's mortifying. Because if you're an introvert, you sat there and you see this stick or ball of doom going round the circle till it gets to you. I'd hate that. But I can see how it would work.
Yeah, something different to try. And does your coaching approach work to everyone? I know that you said you love bullet points and everything. I need to know the whole lot. I need to know details. I'm, designer, so I need to know absolutely everything before I can begin. So no, brilliant presentation. Thank you very much for that. So we are coming over to our quiz. A reminder that the buttons are in the chat room. So you need to press A, B, C, or D. To vote on the different ones. So I'm going to pull that up now? Right. So I think we've got about half the audience in the chat room at the moment. So callcenterhelper.com/chat and get ready with the voting buttons that are at the bottom left-hand corner. So I'm going to press start. True or false? More than half of contact centers run team huddles. Is it A, true, or B, false? So true or false? More than half of contact centers run team huddles. Kim, going to find out what we've had in our research. A, true, or B, false? Last time to vote. Oh, actually, most people getting it wrong. It is in fact true. 54.6% of contact centers now do this, which is great because quick, energetic team huddles set the tempo for the day and can help keep the conversation flowing. So Aaron's currently in the lead. So what percentage of employees feel like they do not have a strong work culture? Is it A, 24%, B, 44%, C, 64%, or D, 84%? What percentage of employees feel like they do not have a strong work culture? A, 24%, B, 44%, C, 64%, or D, 84%? I'll give you a clue, it ends in 4%. So a bit split, but it is actually C, 64%. This statistic comes courtesy of HubSpot, prompting us to consider that if you think your work culture is just fine, it might be time to think again. Slight change at the top. Third question, which of the following engagement initiatives is most commonly used in contact centers? Is it A, flexible shifts, B, motivational games, C, personalized call routing, or D, spot prizes? Which of the following engagement initiatives is the most commonly used in contact centers? A, flexible shifts, B, motivational games, C, personalized call routing, or D, spot prizes? Last chance to vote. Actually, yep, most people getting that one right. It is flexible shifts. 53.6% of contact centers offer flexible shift patterns, and with the rise of home working, this percentage has the potential to skyrocket over the next few years. This is taken from our Call Center Helper research. All change again at the top. Last question, last chance to win a prize. According to Gallup, which of the following is the biggest cause of employee burnout? Is it A, insufficient training, B, repetition overload, C, outdated technology, or D, unfair treatment at work? Which of the following is the biggest cause of employee burnout? Insufficient training, B, repetition overload, C, outdated technology, or D, unfair treatment at work? Last chance. Actually, most people getting that one wrong. It is actually unfair treatment at work. Gallup found it to be one of the top 5 biggest contributors to burnout. The others included having an unmanageable workload, lack of role clarity, lack of communication and support from managers, as well as unreasonable time pressures. So different. And the winner is Jamie Pinder. We will be in touch after the webinar to share your prize. So going back to the presentation, delighted to hand over the baton to Paul Turner from Genesys to take us through your presentation.
Let me start sharing my screen. 2 great presentations from Miranda and Kim, setting the bar high. Hopefully I'll do myself proud for the home straights. So I've worked in contact centers for some time, probably more than 20 years now, and I've worked both in Europe and in North America. However, more than ever, organizations are putting greater emphasis on employee welfare and on employee engagement. Now, of course, the pandemic may have swayed some views recently, but actually, if I go to a couple of years beforehand, then we were seeing this pattern in contact centers back then too. what I wanted to do is really kind of start with what is employee engagement. It can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different organizations. I personally think it's this emotional commitment that engaged employees have, and they care about their company. They don't just turn up for the payday. I think one of the comments earlier, in fact, what they want to do is work on behalf of the organization. And we've seen from Miranda and Kim that actually engaged employees tend to have better CSAT and NPS scores for the organization. They tend to have better sales performance and increased profitability in the organization. And of course, the organization will see reduced costs, especially around that attrition piece. And it's not just me who has these thoughts. Analysts such as Gallup and Gartner agree. In fact, Gallup state that engaged teams drive better results, both in customer metrics such as customer service and in sales. And highly engaged businesses usually equate to 21% higher profitability. Whereas Gartner believes that 86% of organizations these days rank employee engagement as equal or even more important than other factors within the contact center. So there is a huge emphasis now on how we are treating our frontline colleagues. But sometimes we get this wrong. Sometimes it can be really tricky for organizations to manage a clear engagement strategy. So why is this? Well, we tend to find that organizations start to think about fixing the problems, fixing the symptoms, not necessarily the problem. And what do I mean by that? And I think some of the conversation earlier this afternoon has kind of prompted some of these things. First of all, organizations start to act too late. Well, that means that they bring in things such as exit interviews, kind of designed to stop the person leaving the organization. But actually, sometimes it's too late. It's too late in that process. Quite often, they try and save that employee from leaving by offering things such as custom-made working hours or some bespoke working contracts. And sometimes that just compounds the problem even worse for their colleagues. We have this scenario where organizations
I think we've lost Paul at the moment.
Oh,
hi, Paul.
Oh, hello.
Oh, I think we lost you for a moment there.
Oh, apologies. Am I back?
You are. I can hear you.
Okay. So I'll go back to my acting too late point, just to make sure that came across clear. So we see organizations investing in things such as exit interviews, and then what happens is that actually quite often they start offering things such as custom contracts to employees to stop them leaving, and sometimes that compounds the issue for that person's colleagues. Organizations look to recruit more because the attrition snowball continues to gain momentum, and quite often we see organizations reaching further and further afield because their normal recruitment catchment area has been saturated in that particular local market. We have this thing here called pseudo engagement, and I think both Kim and Miranda may have mentioned some of these things before, where organizations bring in things such as a free fruit on a Friday or perhaps even a duvet day may be construed in the wrong way because absence can make our friends work harder. And lastly, we see organizations plan to fail. They overcompensate. We mentioned previously about low proficiency and having the ability to build this into our plans in terms of proficiency, and we kind of accept that high attrition and that higher churn. For frontline colleagues, the world is changing too. Kim mentioned this specifically within her session, but really what we're seeing is that employees need to handle much more complex issues. Automation is great, but actually it's removed those simple tasks. We often see conversations with customers taking significantly longer. Employees become super agents. They handle a wide range of conversations. They become multi-skilled and multi-channeled, but also they need to focus on the outcomes too. And what we tend to see is because of these conversations, there's a focus on empathy and then highly more emotional conversations. Colleagues need to balance the need for process compliance whilst delivering great service. And one of the things that we heard earlier about side-by-side coaching is that quite often in those instances, we get caught up about compliance and we forget the great service. Whereas perhaps remote coaching is really a great way to try and see that balance. And of course, frontline colleagues are much more subject to increased direct and indirect customer feedback. We might be more likely to see someone rant on social media than give feedback through the official CSAT and NPS processes. So we need to rethink this challenge. It really is a time for change. One thing is clear, is that we do have to have a consistent engagement. At the beginning of the session, we kind of talked about what was important, what were the right elements. And I kind of mentioned that actually you need to include everything. And it needs to be both right for the employee and right for the employer. So from an employer's point of view, it's really around managing those interactions. It's really around monitoring that performance and those KPIs. And from an employee, of course, it's about my work-life balance. It's about my shift. It's about how I'm performing. It's about my development. So it needs to be a balanced view across both sides. If we think about workforce solutions, over a period of time, we've seen them move from workforce management only, just looking at supply and demand, through to things such as workforce optimization, where we're linking things such as recording and quality and performance metrics, but it's still purely based on effectiveness and efficiency. Today, we see these solutions more empathetic. We see workforce engagement generating positive employee experiences, and that in turn obviously drives those right behaviors. Let's look at a closer look at just two of the elements within the way that technology can support. If we were to think about employee performance and gamification, well, the first part of this jigsaw is really around finding somewhere where I can see my performance rather than relying on my supervisor to provide it. Perhaps I can look for that myself. And then I really want to concentrate on how do I develop. I'm seeing that information, and therefore what self-service tools do I have at my hand to try and help me learn, as well as being coached. And of course, we know that coached employees do have higher performance. Interestingly enough, 80% of the coaching process from a supervisor's point of view is really in preparation. What if we can convert that to 100% to being employee one-to-one focused? Of course, it needs to be personal, and it needs to meet the career path that I have and the role and profile that I've got. But lastly, we want all of this to be fun, and things such as gamification works really well in the right instances. One of the other areas that we touched on was around work-life balance. And of course, things such as schedule flexibility can help here. First of all, we can get our employees to indicate what are the days that they would like to work. And of course, drilling a further step into this, they can tell us when their start and stop times are, or perhaps the length of those shifts that they can do on those specific days. We see important things such as breaks and lunches and other activities wanting to be flexible too. And of course, employees may want to have the ability to pick and choose where break and lunch rather than being dictated to. It's all about being part of the process, not being just part of the result. But you need a tool, of course, that enables all of this to come together while still capturing all of your demand and satisfying those interactions that are coming through. So there's a couple of things here that solutions can help with. The employers win too in this process. It helps to create the right environment for work to succeed in. with shared respect and community belonging. Clear understanding of expectations between the employer and the employee can be a positive outcome from this, while supporting career development and growth for all. And all of this is underlying the organization's value proposition to their employees, and for those employees to benefit from that true work-life balance that we're all craving. And of course, this model reduces things such as attrition, the employee churn, and of course, we know all of those positive outcomes such as increased profitability and world-class customer service. So in summary, I think it's time for us all to just rethink the challenge. Employee engagement means that colleagues have a sense of being emotionally connected to the organization and its goals. And of course, although technology is not the answer, it can be a great enabler. It can be that way of being that remote support. It can be that way of supplying that information. Both Miranda and Kim and I have kind of illustrated that having happy employees also means happy customers. And hopefully you've seen that through this process, there is a win-win for all. So that's it. That's it from me, Rachel. Thank you very much. And if anyone wants to reach out to me and ask me more, then happy to answer any questions.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. I'm just going to quickly put up a poll and ask if you'd like to see more from Paul. If you just share, would you like to see a demonstration of the Genesis solution? Brilliant presentation. Another one, Paul. You know, my key takeaways were, you know, I really enjoyed an emotional commitment the employee has to organisation and its goals of the definition of employee engagement. 86% of companies now rank employee engagement as equal to or even more important than other factors. You know, work is definitely changing. You know, I really enjoyed that section about, you know, how automation is changing, you know, advisor roles, more channels, you know, that focus on empathy, and even, you know, getting direct feedback. You know, social media allows people to, you know, immediately share their thoughts on things. And, you know, I think that really does share with you, you know, that rethink the challenge. And I know in our quiz, we shared, you know, schedule flexibility and how can the employee be put, be part of the process. So, you know, a really great presentation. Thank you very much for that. So I've been seeing lots of tips and tips coming in. Hopefully we can get through a few in the last few minutes. We will turn it into an article, so hopefully we can share them all on the website. Corey said virtual trivial challenges with $5 gift cards, a nice one. Abby said weekly company newsletters detailing any changes within the business, feedback forums, colleague of the week, etc. Yeah, Kim's liking that one. Abby said, don't wait, what are you waiting for? Tell them that you love them campaign, customers, peers and leaders. Nice one there. Oh, Abby's after the prize. You said we did. So agent voice and employee work stream. Andrew said, celebrate success and a job well done. Definitely important. Jamie Pinder said, when a member of staff passes their probation, end the meeting by starting their PDP. Keep focusing on it at each one-to-one. And I think last one, Wendy said, when creating new processes or procedures, involve the team. It's critical to have team buy-in for success to happen. Great one to end on. So as you can see, so many been sent in. Thank you so much. If you'd like to share in the chat room in 1 or 2 words, what did you like best about today's webinar? The winning tip comes from Nick48, who said, give everyone an equal opportunity to be the hero of their own success. Continually recognize and reward people for their effort. And by reward, it's not just physical rewards. So congratulations, we'll be in touch after the webinar. A reminder that we have our own survey, so it's 4 questions long. If you could fill it in and share some feedback. A reminder that the replay will be available later on this afternoon, and to join us next week for our final webinar of 2021. There's still time to register. And I just want to say thank you so much to our brilliant panel of expert speakers. Delighted to welcome you back. Miranda Kane from Elevate Performance, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been great fun. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And welcome, thank you very much, Kim, as well. Kim Ellis, training consultant. Thank you
Thanks very much.
Brilliant. And finally, last but not least, thank you very much, Paul Turner from Genesis, for joining us.
Thank you.
Brilliant. And so we will see you all next week. Thank you very much.
Thanks
Bye.
all. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.